Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public, informational, nonpartisan program designed to get you, the public, acquainted with the candidates vying for this 2024 primary election. We're looking at the local races of Salem City Mayor, Salem City Council, Marion County Commissioners, and Polk County Commissioner. These interviews come to you through the production at Capital Community Media, with collaboration on questions and moderators from American Association of University Women and the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties. All candidates for these races were invited, and all but one chose to participate. Candidates did not receive the questions ahead of time that were prepared by the League of Women Voters. Candidates were invited to prepare a 2-minute opening that addresses their background and qualifications for the office. And they also will have a 2-minute closing to address primary issues or any remarks they choose to make. So today, I'm Bernadine Anderson from the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties, and I would like to introduce Celine Coleman, who is running for Salem City Councilor, Ward 1. Candidate Coleman, welcome, and we look forward to hearing your opening remarks.
Thank you for having me, Denny. I'm so excited to be here, and pretty much my campaign is focused on a couple different topics. I'm focused on safety, businesses, and collaboration. Looking at my background in public health, which I've worked in for multiple years, health isn't just one facet. It's multifaceted. Safety, businesses, and collaboration are important to health, whether it's safety when a child's walking to school and, where they are able to get to the school. Businesses from a financial perspective, if we have a nice, strong economy, that's great for prosperity and reduces the amount of stress that people anticipate and receive throughout their life. Stress causes health problems. So if we reduce that amount of stress in a city like Salem, people are able to prosper and have better life outcomes. And then collaboration is important. We need to remove a lot of the smoke screens in Salem, and we need to collaborate with different agencies as well as the county to get along and have a stronger financial backing.
Thank you. I'm very glad to hear your remarks, and thank you for participating. We have some questions today to share with you, and we would like to begin with this one. Many residents may not understand the role of council members. Why should they be interested in this race?
They should be interested in this race, particularly if they live in Ward 1, because we represent our constituents. It's not about politics. We're not one party or the other. And we're here creating policy at the local level or upholding it. So that affects every resident, whether it's a resident that lives in Ward 1 to one that lives in Ward 8, which is right next to Ward 1 in West Salem. So we all affect each other, whether it's directly or indirectly. And even people outside of Salem are affected by some of the policies that are passed and upheld.
Our question too today is, especially since you addressed about collaboration, how would you work on communication and outreach to the local groups and institutions in order to improve collaboration, especially those that address shared issues and problems?
I would look at the communication channels we're not tapping into. So billboards, very rarely do you see the city of Salem, whether it's a digital billboard or just a standard one where they're being utilized. But in addition to that, not everyone drives. So not everyone's necessarily going on Commercial or Market Street. So we need to tap into the channels that different communities use, whether it's radio, whether it's organizations that they utilize on a daily basis. Schools are just one area of communication that the city of Salem doesn't necessarily tap into outside of those parents. Like, are we promoting things in our community? There's a lot of boards that have different information on those boards. Are we using those to promote, whether it's a town hall, whether it's a budget committee meeting, or is it just word of mouth? A lot of people use Facebook too, and I know the city uses that, but not everyone's following the city of Salem on Facebook.
Okay. Our third question. The City Council has acknowledged homelessness as a critical issue in our community. What are some new proposals addressing the needs of the unsheltered?
I don't know about any new proposals. I know the ongoing proposals that have happened in the current council, working with the Mid-Willamette Community Action Agency, in addition to organizations such as Church in the Park, not necessarily hand in hand with those organizations, but providing like the land for those organizations, things like that. But I think we can do a lot more by working with the county and looping in mental health services so that it's a wraparound. So it's more of a wraparound services instead of just having one-offs where we give funding to this organization or that. I think we could utilize a lot of the community-based organizations that are here locally that aren't necessarily getting funding from us. They may be getting funding from the state now. However, we could work with them to have braided funding. I think 3, whether it's the county, another agency, and the city, are a lot stronger than just one.
Another question. How have city building codes been altered, especially concerning the permitting process? And can you tell us what is middle housing?
I cannot answer that. I do not know what middle housing is.
Yeah, new to me too. Did you want to say anything in general about city building codes?
No, thank you.
Okay, that's just fine. This one, all candidates, I believe, enter with this in mind. What are your top priorities and strategies that are outlined in Salem's recently adopted climate action plan? And we're looking at those things that might increase resiliency for our community.
So are you asking specifically what's in the climate action plan?
You can address that, or you can say what your priorities are in a climate action plan.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Jeannie, for clarifying. I think one of the areas we need to look at is making our community safer. If they're safer, more people will walk in the community, so they're not necessarily going to be driving everywhere if there's accessible places. If they feel like they're going to be hit by a car, or they may get shot at, or some type of harm will come to them, why would they consider walking or riding their bike? That's just one area of focus. We need to have community policing. I think if you recognize a lot of the officers in your community and you're not just seeing a uniform, that goes a long way in, trust.
Are there elements to a general climate action plan that you want in there? You don't have to necessarily know what Salem has, but what would you want to see in a climate action plan?
I would want to see a way to reduce a lot of the trash that ends up in a lot of the rivers. If we look at just across the bridge over to West Salem, there's sewage that occurs at different times of the year, especially when there's heavy rain. So that's just one area I'd like to address where there's more recycling instead of just waste.
Okay. When you research issues that would be important to the city, how do you prepare, and what resources do you turn to?
So I turn to individuals, that have lived here a long time and may have even been on council previously because they know how that system works. But I also use a lot of the city's documents. I don't think you can really know something unless you go to the source of that information. Hearsay is only as good as what you hear, right? And then lastly, I also go to the people affected. You can't involve them at the last minute. You have to really engage them so that they're also passionate, whether it's about improving the situation or they feel slighted by it. I think a lot of times their voices are not heard, especially if they're a marginalized community.
And how would you go about reaching those groups?
Once again, through those communication channels that are heavily utilized. I look at just different small sects of the community, and we're not tapping into those. And then we're like, oh, well, they didn't really show up here or there. But did we ever look at why?
Okay. What decisions do you think should be made concerning cities' infrastructure features?
Infrastructure at the just at the city level?
The city level.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of room for improvement at the city level in terms of infrastructure. Primarily, I would look at some of the incentives we're giving to small and mid-sized businesses to come here if they're leaving places such as Portland or even Seattle. We have an airport that's currently, received some federal funding in addition to the city to get reignited. And I would love for that to stay open instead of closing after that federal funding ends. So how are we as a city incentivizing those businesses that are leaving Portland for safety concerns or other reasons, whether it's high costs, to come here? We have Amazon. That's well known down on the south side of town, but not every company, is going to be a huge warehouse.
Do you have feelings about roads, sidewalks, bicycle paths?
I do. In the northern part of my ward, the sidewalks remain in disrepair. The city has addressed some of those now, but I've had residents that have lived here decades, and they say we contact the city, but they don't come to fix the sidewalks. So I don't know if it's sometimes there's staffing issues or what leads to them going to certain communities over others when it comes to sidewalks, especially when you have disabled individuals. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult when it snows and they have to now walk in the road and compete with parked cars or use a wheelchair.
Our next question, discuss urban renewal areas. What process, by which process are they determined? And is there a relationship with that process to our tax rolls?
I think there is a relationship. Urban renewal agencies, the URAs, there's multiple throughout the city. In Ward 1, there's one downtown, and there's the potential for one out by currently the Truett Cannery. But they affect how much the city receives in property tax revenue because the property tax is frozen at a certain rate when a URA is created. So if there were, say, a lot of houses downtown or even properties that are paying into property tax, the city is not getting as much from those URA areas as they would in an area that is not a URA. However, URAs do provide an incentive, for businesses to come there and to grow. So you'll look at downtown, it's, become revitalized over the last few years, and that is a URA. The Truett area, they're doing a whole redevelopment out there. It'll be housing in addition to retail. So the goal is to create a URA there. Over time, it won't necessarily stay a URA, say like a couple decades, 1 or 2 from now. And then it'll go back to just being a regular neighborhood where the city can collect property tax from housing there.
That's how that works.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're now going to give you an opportunity for your closing remarks. So, Candidate Coleman, you are invited to share your 2-minute closing comments about your goals for the office, or if there's any other remarks you would like to make that were not addressed.
Okay. Thank you again for having me here, Deanie. I would also like to bring up before I fully close that voters need to be engaged, heard, listened, and heard. With the recent payroll tax, that was a huge slap in the face, especially with the amount of money that was spent to get that out to the voters. Hundreds of thousands of dollars was lost, so there was no positive return on that investment. But I would love for you to vote for me if you live in Ward 1. Voting day is May 21st, and my priorities are safety, collaboration, and businesses.
Would you like to say how voters could contact you?
Yes, you can reach out to me through Celine Coleman for Salem. It's my Facebook page, or you can go on my website. It's bit.ly/Celine for Salem, the number 4.
Thank you. So I want to thank our candidate Coleman for all of this information and the opportunity to get acquainted, and for sharing thoughts with us today. Appreciate it. Well, we also want to thank Capital Community Media for their extensive technology and producer skills that were used to create this program. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Marion Polk Counties for the design and preparation of the program. And thanks to you, the public, for watching in order to become a more informed voter. For more local, state, and national voter information on candidates and ballot issues, please visit vote411.org after April 15th, when the candidate data will be posted. You have until April 30th to register to vote or to make any changes in your voter registration, such as party location. So April 30th for that date. The ballots go out May 1st and will be accepted and counted on the May 21st voting day. Elections matter, so please remember to vote because your vote counts.